ഹായ് ഫ്രണ്ട്സ്, എല്ലാവർക്കും 10ാം ക്ലാസ്സിൻ്റെ മറ്റൊരു എപ്പിസോഡിലേക്ക് സ്വാഗതം. അപ്പോൾ ഇന്ന് നമ്മൾ എന്താ നോക്കാൻ പോകുന്നത്? വി ആർ ഗോയിങ് ടു ലുക്ക് poetic devices and appreciation of the poems, lines written in early spring, the Ballad of Father Gilligan, and Blowing in the Wind. So, when we say about appreciation is very much important. It is a sure question for the SSLC exam. Sure 6-mark question. 6 മാർക്കിൻ്റെ ഒരു sure question ആണ് appreciation of the poem. സോ പോയറ്റിക് ഡിവൈസസും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻ്റ് ആണ്. അതുകൊണ്ട് നമ്മൾ ഇന്ന് നോക്കാൻ പോകുന്നത് എന്താ? അപ്രീസിയേഷൻ ആൻഡ് പോയറ്റിക് ഡിവൈസസ് ഓഫ് ദ 3 poems. ഏതൊക്കെയാണ്? ദ ബാലഡ് ഓഫ് ഫാദർ ഗില്ലിഗൺ, ലൈൻസ് റിട്ടൺ ഇൻ ഏർലി സ്പ്രിംഗ് ആൻഡ് ബ്ലോയിങ് ഇൻ ദ വിൻഡ്. അപ്പം നമുക്ക് പോകാം. Now we can look the appreciation of the poem Blowing in the Wind. Blowing in the Wind is one of the most famous songs written and sung by Bob Dylan. He despised the warning policy of his country. He protested against America's tyranny in the Vietnam War. He pens his feelings in his song Blowing in the Wind. The song has 3 stanzas. Each stanza begins with a rhetorical question that interrogates the purpose of war. The next lines state the futility of the war. The concluding 2 lines of each stanza is a refrain. The refrain is a solution. Man can find the answers by himself. Steady rhythm makes the poem perfect. The tone is revolutionary. No rhyme scheme is followed. Rhythm and figures of speech like alliteration, assonance, and metaphors make the poem charming. The imagery is brilliant. The word choice is fitting to the tone. As a whole, the poem is an excellent work. Then we can look the poetic devices in the poem Blowing in the Wind. Metaphors. Roads equals to life experiences. White dove is equals to peace and freedom. Cannonballs equals to war. Mountain equals to pride and ego of those who desire war. Alliteration. How many roads must a man walk down? Next one. Before she sleeps in the sand. Then allusion. How many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? Bob Dylan alludes the biblical reference to Noah sending a dove after the flood to find a land where there is peace and is fit to be habitated. Images, visual images, roads, dove, cannonballs. Appreciation of the poem Lines written in early spring. Lines written in early spring is a poem written by the famous romantic poet William Wordsworth. In it, he shows the relation between man and nature. The poet enjoys the sights and sounds of nature, and he laments on what man has made of man. The poet once sits in a grove in a very calm and relaxed mood. He hears lots of various sounds. He finds solace and was much pleased in the songs of birds. At the same time, some sad thoughts came to his mind. He sees the primrose and periwinkle make wreaths in the bower. He believes every flower enjoys the air it breathes. The birds around him express their thrill by hopping and playing. He also sees the budding twigs spread out their leaves to catch the breezy air. But when he thinks of human world, he becomes sad. What man has done to man and to nature makes him unpleasant. Steady rhythm makes the poem perfect. The rhyme scheme is ABAB. Figures of speech like personification and hyperbole make the poem perfect. Then we can move to the poetic devices of the poem, lines written in early spring. First one, personification. Number 1, to her fair works did nature link. Number 2, and it is my faith that every flower enjoys the air it breathes. Number 3, the budding twigs spread out their fan to catch the breezy air. Hyperbole, I heard 1,000 blended notes. Then alliteration, what man has made of man. Then imagery, visual images, birds around hopped and played. The groove, green bower, primrose, periwinkle, etc. Then auditory image, I heard 1,000 blended notes. Then rhyme scheme is ABAB. Finally, we are going to look the appreciation of the poem, The Ballad of Father Gilligan. The Ballad of Father Gilligan is a ballad written by the famous Irish poet W.B. Yeats. It describes an incident happened in the life of an old priest, Father Gilligan. The old priest, Father Gilligan, was in charge of a parish. An epidemic had broken out in his area. Almost half of his parishioners were dead or sick. He was very tired performing the funeral activities and giving the last sacrament. One day, while he was resting, a dying man's wife sent for him. The old priest began to complain that he had no rest. Then he realized his mistake and asked God's forgiveness. He knelt and prayed but soon fell asleep. He woke up the next morning and rushed to the sick man's house. The sick man's wife opened the door and said that after he had gone away, her husband had died. On hearing this, the old priest understood that God had sent one of his angels to perform his duty. He was grateful to God. The poem is narrative in form. It is written in multiple stanzas of 4 lines. The poem is rich with imageries. It has a regular rhyme scheme ABCB. As a whole, this poem is a perfect example of a ballad. Then we can move to the poetic devices of the poem The Ballad of Father Gilligan. Personification. And stars began to peep. Alliteration, I have no rest, no joy, no peace. Images, visual images, fen, rocky lane, green sods. Auditory images, sparrow chirp, leaves shake in the wind. With this, we have completed the appreciation and poetic devices of the poems. ഏതൊക്കെയാണ്? The lines written in early spring, blowing in the wind, and The Ballad of Father Gilligan. അപ്പം നന്നായിട്ട് പഠിക്കുക. It is a very sure question for the SSLC exam. Thank you.